Well, thank you for joining this podcast, your time.
Yeah, thank you.
I can tell. So first, can you just introduce yourself, like your name, and then what do you study?
I'm Emma Felicia. I have actually graduated this year as an actress from drama school, and I'm 22, and now I'm living in Paris, and soon I'll be living back in Barcelona, where I lived the past 3 years studying at drama school, like an international drama school, and yeah, that's about me.
Nice. And just to start off this podcast, I'll just get into a little bit of your path as an actress. So to start, like, how did you know you wanted to be an actress rather than other stuff like a chef?
Like I started acting. I think the first time that I was on stage was when I was like 3 or 4, and I just like fell in love with being on stage. And then like little by little, I started doing like school plays, and every time that there would be an opportunity, I would be like lifting my hand up and saying like, "Please let me join." And like normal school just wasn't my thing. Like I just didn't enjoy it that much. The the act of doing something creative, like getting to work with other people and putting myself in another persona was like something very fascinating. And as a child, like playing dress up, like that's basically what you also do as an actress. You play dress up, but in a more professional aspect, of course. Um, but yeah, I like when I was 12, I think that that's when I like realized that this is what I want to do as my career. Like I was doing it at school already. I was doing it at like theater clubs, and I was like, oh, like I could be on that TV show or in that movie. And yeah, from then on, I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and I had like my head very hard on that. Even if there's been like, there's always noise from the outside coming when you're creative, but it's just you just need to stick with your vision.
Yeah,
Um,
I can definitely resonate with the part where you say don't like normal schooling. Like I've struggled with that too. I never liked like to do normal academics like biology, science, especially
yeah,
math. Or it's just and then yeah, what somewhat struggle with my university. I studied in a business school, so it's for me it's interesting to know those concepts and to learn about them, but I never really have the curiosity to learn more about it compared to
yeah,
learning for
exactly.
my filmmaking. Okay, I was going on YouTube like, oh, I want to know this. I saw this is so cool. Let me do my research on it. When it comes to academics, it's like I go to YouTube because I need to know this for my exam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you do it because like there's like that. I don't know. For me, it came like when I wanted to do good in school, it just came from the wanting to be perfect or just having that discipline to do something well. But it didn't come from a like genuine point of like, okay, I want to like master this.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. And I'm curious if you did not go down the actress path, what do you imagine you would do?
um, I don't know. Well, I think it would be still something like it's hard to say because I already have like other things that I also want to do in my life, like having a fashion brand and also at some point doing a podcast and other creative things. So I would say one of those, even though acting is my like main thing. But if it would be something completely different, psychology has always like interested me, and that's the only thing that I was very interested about in like high school and then later. Well, no, in university we didn't have that much like we had like some things related to acting, but like self help things and um, neuroscience has always interested me. But I don't know if I would be like being a psychologist or a therapist. I think it would be I'm too sensitive for that. um, I don't know. It's hard to say, but maybe something related to like self-help type of
Hmm.
thing, I'd
Yeah,
say.
I've struggled to answer that question as well because that is my
Yeah,
identity. I resonate with that very badly. I'm wondering what is like the biggest challenge of being an actress?
I think you need to be very present to actually be being that other person. You need to cut the noise inside of your head completely. And I mean, I think that's also something that, as a human itself, for you not to have anxiety or stress, to cut that like noise inside your head, it's very important. But when you're on stage or in front of a camera, if you're all the time thinking about like, oh my god, like the camera is so close, or like, oh, how do I look, or um like the audience is not laughing, they're not reacting or stuff like that, and you're not actually being the person you you've been given to, and like you should be honored to step in those shoes, then you miss the magic of that present moment, and you're not listening what the other person is saying to you, or giving you like just body language wise or whatever, and you're not then responding to it like like in a spontaneous manner. So I think that's very tricky. But then at the same time, when you need to be in the person, you also need to have that awareness. Like you need to be the actress and be the person. So you need to like handle those two things at the same time. Um, to also have awareness of the technicalities of like, oh my god, like, okay, am I being too loud if it's like in front of a camera? Like you need to be aware of that. You're not on a like theater, like you don't need to be shouting so loud because the boomer is here. Um, but then you also need to forget that the boomer is there. Um, so I think those are like the very interesting aspects as an actress that you need to handle like two things at the same time.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine it's very difficult because you need to still remember that you have lines to deliver, but at the same time you need to hear what the other actors is saying at the
Exactly.
same time and respond to
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips and tricks to be present while maintaining the technical aspect?
Yeah. Well, I myself, I meditate a lot, and I try to use those tools like focusing, just even though I know my lines, as Emma, I know what I'm gonna say next. But as well, in the case of the film, as Stella, I didn't know what was gonna come. Um, so listening to what the other person is saying to me, I don't know, because then like I think it's like some sort of intuition, but then like technicality wise, I just like before I start a scene, I go through like, okay, this and this I need to be aware of, and then it's already there. Um, and then also to have the person that you kind of built, the person, the character, you have already inhabited her, so that at the moment when you are on stage or in front of a camera, you're not thinking about anymore like, okay, how does this person react? How does this person say these things? Because it already comes from within. As Emma, I don't think about like, okay, how do I say my words? Like how does Emma say something? Like it just comes. So I think that's something that is very important as an actor, that you inhabit the person that you're being.
Well, that is, yeah, I can't do that. That's why I'm not an actor. And then, what kind of advice would you give to people that is thinking to go down this path as an actor, extras?
um, I think have faith in yourself. That's the first thing. And to also know that you are gonna have moments where you suck, and you're gonna have moments where you're great, and both are very needed. And and to know that like it's you're growing all the time as a person yourself, and so does your skills and the skills you use. Like I think having having that faith that when you love something and you do it from the heart and you're being present on that moment, you're connecting with people. But when you're trying to put a performance on, that's when you lose the connection and it's not something genuine. Um, I think that's very important. And I would say to do a lot of meditation. That will help a lot. In my in my experience, it has helped a lot. Because it's not a normal, it's not like a conventional career to
Yeah.
say. Um, there's a lot of uncertainty all the time, but that's also very exciting. um, so yeah, to have like that positive view of like how great it is that you get to make people feel stuff
Mm-hmm.
and and to bring them together. Yes, you're gonna have moments where you're like, okay, so when is the next project gonna come? But that's also like not to keep waiting on a permission to do something or that like the outside, I don't know, you get a casting director who calls you or an agent like do stuff like you can put a camera on and do monologues in your room or just to start from there and then build on that or make a short film. um, but I think like just just engaging in the craft as much as possible is very important because that's where you grow. You learn things. You learn what to do. You learn what what not maybe. You learn things that you also like and you don't like. Where you feel comfortable, where you don't feel that comfortable. But also not feeling comfortable is not always something bad. You can be uncomfortable but in a safe way, if you get what I
Yeah, I totally understand about there are some phases where you suck, and some phases you cannot succeed.
mean.
And yeah, being an actor or even as a director of photography, it's tough and it's usually not paid very high or not paid at all. And so my question is like, did you have this problem and how did you go around with it?
Yeah, well, I've in my case, since I've just graduated, it's like I wanted to have like, okay, I'm gonna have something stable just to start with. So working at a coffee shop is like something that's keeping gave me a peace of mind for like now the start and that also I could then do just keep engaging in the craft itself and creating my own things. And then like I'm still applying on things and yeah, it's like sometimes you have those days where you're like, shit, like, what's gonna happen? but then but then you just need to like come to the present moment and think about like, okay, like this is the point in my life where I am right now. What can I do to change my reality to the one that I want it to be? What are the steps that I can take in this moment right now? And and to have faith that the, those like intuitions that you have of like, oh, maybe I could do this or that, they're gonna lead you somewhere. And I think making connections is very important, especially like I mean it's always important in every in all the industries, but especially in this one, in the early steps, it's very important because that's how you build also like a community of people who you can keep working on, like as long as we go. um, and yeah, to keep like that creative muscle on, even if there isn't coming something from the outside, because otherwise it can get very like you put so much validation on the outside and you feel that you're not being validated if you don't get that like validation from the outside. But it's not that.
Mm-hmm. And then I want to go back to a point where you said there will be like people saying that you might not succeed, like doubting you. Like, how did you deal with those outside noise?
um, I'm very stubborn, so I think that has no. But I always said to my friends too that you have to be your own cheerleader first before anyone else can like to be a cheerleader for you. Um, yeah, to have faith in that I'm doing what I love and it makes me so happy. So I don't care. Like, yeah, sometimes I do care, but I try my best not to care. And I think the like older that I am, it doesn't give me that much. Like, it doesn't hurt me anymore. Um, because I just yeah, I'm just so happy doing what I love, and especially I think drama school gave me that confidence because I was doing every day what I love the most. Um, and it was a very big like step for me. Um, yeah, just have confidence in yourself. It sounds so cliche, but it's just like you cannot you can't go around it. Um, you need to build that self belief from something. So if you have something that you really love to do and you yourself feel confident in it, if other people say like to you something, it's because they have their own insecurities because they did not maybe fulfill something that they felt passionate about, that it became from a point of fear. You're being fearless and they're kind of envying you for that. So I think it's they're just mirroring something from their own past and it's not actually about you.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. I think I've read a similar quote on that as well. And yeah, it's just do what makes you happy, but of course, make sure that you are making a living. You can still get your basic need met, just like you working in a cafe to have something a somewhat stable income, and then continue to do what you love on the side. It's the same for me. Like my parents doesn't really support me. They are pretty traditional where they want me to get a stable job and make stable money and then have a stable life. But I somehow just stop. I just walk on this creative path out of nowhere, and none of my parents is creative at all. And I still remember when I finished high school. Yeah, I finished high school. I We were in a restaurant. I asked my parents like, "Can I get a camera because that is what I want. That is what I want to do. That's what I love to do." They're like, "Yes, we can." Like, first they said no. Then they're like, "Okay, we can put aside some money to help you get one," but that never happened. So I just started with my iPhone 6s Plus, and then I worked my way up. I started shooting with that, and then I've met my sports director, and he introduced me to the marketing team of my university, so I get to play with some cameras, and from there, And thanks to my cousin introduced me to his friend too, so I can bought my first camera from him. Then later I met the camera shop, and now I have like a shit ton of gear. So I mean, this is it looks like overnight, but it's not. It's been 4 years since I got to whatever I am now. But yeah, just like everyone, every successful person say, just start little by little.
Yeah,
Just get
exactly.
started.
Yeah, and and like feed on that feeling that okay, like I'm starting from here, but then also seeing like okay, I've come this far, like and and it's actually such a little time, like 4 years. Also, it's not a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to think like okay, like if I'm now at this point, where can I be 4 years more from
Mm-hmm.
now? Um, and yeah, I'm a very spiritual person, so I think I think we all have like something planted in us. Um, why we come here to this earth. um, so I think that there's also something on that. There's a there's a bigger picture to all these desires that we have for you to keep like cameras and like the cinematography and filmmaking and um, there's something that you need to show the world. You need to tell a story from your perspective. Because yeah, we all no one could like replicate what you would create
Mm-hmm.
with your craft. And same with me, because we're all our own people.
Yes, exactly. And now I want to shift the topic to the film. So, first, where did you get the inspiration to make this film?
um, when I came to Paris, it was not on my it wasn't on my mind that I was gonna make it. But actually, the first week, because I was already supposed to start working at the coffee shop, but then like they had some problems and I couldn't start working, so I was desperate to do something. So um, I just started to connect with like people on a Facebook group of like international filmmakers, um, and I met up with like my now editor. Um, and we like talked for hours about films in general, and we had very similar taste also in what we liked. Um, and it was such a like fun and creative talk that I hadn't had for such a long time. Um, and I was like, like it would be nice to create something at some point. And he was like, well, I can edit. And I was like, oh, okay. Let me think about that. And I had like two two different like ideas in my mind of like kind of like themes. The other one was like darker one, and then the other one was more like romantic and light, which I ended up going with because I felt that it matched better with Paris itself. The other one was like, yeah, it didn't match the vibe of summer and Paris. But I'm still gonna do it at some point. uh, so that's where it like initially started. Then I also then the story itself, like there was some inspiration from my own life, um, and other people's lives, and then two films that I really love. That is Past Lives and Before Sunrise, or before yeah, Before Sunrise is the first one, yes. Because it's a trilogy. So I was like, which one was the first one? Yeah, that's the first one. So those two films were the my like inspiration besides my own life and
And when you decide to make this film for the first time, how did you make you feel? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel excited? Like,
everything, everything, and emotions I couldn't describe. Um, and I had like it was so like it was very exciting. I was so with people. I was having meetings every week, the whole summer. Um, and like I felt very much in my element. But then it was also like I had a lot of like doubts with myself because in drama school we weren't taught anything about filmmaking itself. Like I knew that acting side, like the technical part of that and everything, so that was like easy. But then yeah, like the fact of how to make a film, I had absolutely no clue. I barely knew what a call sheet meant just because like from an actor's point of view I had to know what that is. But then other stuff uh, I didn't know like no, I didn't know what camera I wanted to use, but when I had how you could create what I had in my mind, what type of like gear we needed for sound and stuff like that. Absolutely no clue. So there was like a lot of moments of like, okay, like, am I ready to do this? Like, am I really gonna do this? Like right now? Um, I just finished drama school. um, but then I think I gained also a lot of confidence by speaking with people, and they were saying like, no, like, do it, like it's so good that you're doing it at this point because you're gonna learn so much. And I learned so much. Like I'm so grateful that I did it. Um, and most of the things I learned from you. um, and which I'm very grateful for.
And then I
And
want to go back to the feelings that you mentioned, like exciting and then anxious and then like moments where you don't know what to do. Like how
yeah,
did you control it? Besides the excitement where you're just there, but the anxiousness and then the point where you're like, it's just like, am I ready?
yeah. I I had a few points where I was like, should I just call it quits? um, but then I was like, no, like I cannot because if I'm already this far, like I would not have had this idea if I was not supposed to do it.
I think I told you that
Um,
as well. Like we're actually
huh?
fine to. I think I told you that as well. Like we're in this too far. We can't stop
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
I
Yeah,
we
yeah,
had a
yeah.
trouble for what finding actor or what was the
Yes.
problem? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Exactly.
it was to find Ben, and then I I think it was probably I don't know for
Oh yeah,
sound
yeah. I
I
think for
think it was
sound,
two.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and Gaffer. A lot of things.
yeah. True.
Um, but how did I go with it? Like trust is my favorite word, so I think I just kept on trusting and that like everything would fall in place one way or another. Like maybe it wasn't what I first had thought, but it didn't mean that it was not gonna be good, like good, um, or that I was not gonna get something from it, learn something from it, and yeah, doing long meditations before going to sleep.
And then you mentioned that you were working in a cafe while putting this film together. And as I know, you have a boyfriend. Like, how did you even organize your time?
Mm, yeah. Uh, so I've been working at the coffee shop like full time. So like 5 days a week, 7, 8 hours a day. Um, I don't know how I don't know how I did it. Like I had 2 days like always free during the week, and those I always use for like whether I had a meeting or I was writing or rewriting, searching locations. After work, I would like I had the coffee shop was around the area where I knew that I wanted to have like some some shoots. So after work, I would go and like do location scouting or scouting for the jazz band that actually didn't end up happening, but it put me like outside of my comfort zone a lot to go like speak to random people. Like I became very unhinged during this process. Like I just didn't care. I was like, hey, what, I have 2 minutes. And, um, yeah, and then with my boyfriend, like I just always made sure that I was also being present for in my like having moments for my personal life as well. Because I know that it's gonna be like it. This is my career. It's like this. I am gonna have moments where I'm like having whether like okay now I'm working in a coffee shop, but then it's gonna be that I'm gonna be on a set like for 12 hours. Um, and to like it was a challenge for myself like okay how can I make this work the best for myself have time for myself have time for other people in my life and to then also have time for my craft um and I think I'm quite good with organizing like time I'd say so in the mornings I would also do a lot of like prep things before work because thankfully my work would start quite late, so I would have time in the mornings, whether for myself or for work, and then have late nights. Um, but I did it gladly because I knew that it was it was for a moment, and it was a moment that I could not get also back. Um, so yeah, like sometimes I don't like the word sacrifice, but it's some type of like it's prioritizing certain things.
Mhm.
Um, like okay, maybe I didn't have time to go to museums that much during the summer, but then I prioritized that okay for these months I'm gonna like have go to different coffee shops and right there and that was also kind of like mixing my own time with my craft because I could have moments of like yeah, I have my coffee, then I'm doing some writing, then I'm answering some emails, sending some emails, having meetings. Um, yeah, it's you just need to find a balance within the imbalance.
And like for me, I organize everything within my calendar. I think you can get by now. Like I'm very organized with my time. If it's not in the calendar, it's not gonna happen at all. If it's in there and you did not show up, it's not happening either. So I'm wondering, do you use any tools to organize your time, or just like in your head?
Um, I I used I used to use my calendar a lot more, but I think I have more. I have like notes app, or then I have in my calendar in my phone. Like I had a physical calendar, but I haven't used it that much like this year. It's more like notes app, or yeah, or my head. But then sometimes it can be like not that trusting if there's a lot of things going on in my head.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, sometimes just like I forgot that they completely. Just, oh
Yeah,
shit, I have that thing, and just oh, it's too late.
yeah. Then you're like, no.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, like now that I think about it, like I don't know how I did it. Because also like during the summer, I had the most hours I've ever had at the coffee shop. So I don't know. I remember going to sleep very late, but also not that much. Like it would not go like past midnight.
Mhm. I think it's probably because I always send you like what 15 messages when you're working to see like here's what we need and here's what I've done, and then just keep track of everything.
Yeah, yeah, like. um, having the yeah, like sending messages a lot. I'm a voice memo person, as you noticed. uh, Sending a lot of voice messages and um, just listen. Also, like the freedom that I can do that on a metro. Like I can answer to stuff when I don't know, having a break and do that like quickly just to take like something like check off the list, you know. Um, that's also very satisfying to okay, I've done that. I've done that.
Yeah,
It's getting smaller.
yeah, totally. And I'll just go back to the relationship part. Like, what advice would you give to people to manage having a very busy life while having a relationship? It's more for like personal, my a bit selfish shit, but just for me because I love working. I work a lot, as you know, and I'm also looking forward to have like a girlfriend upon in the future. And I'm sure I'll make time, but I want to hear like your advice on how did you manage your relationship?
Yeah, we're also long distance, so it was um like I always, as a person, for me, clear communication is very important in general, whether it's with a significant other or like uh, in the like with between us also like having knowing things very clearly. It's very important. So in my relationship, I prioritize that a lot, making like make making the person feel that I'm present even though I'm not present physically, or even if I have a lot of things going on, like making the person still feel like special and valued and heard and loved. Um, we would always have like at least once a week, like do like FaceTime, FaceTime call, and then like during the week, I would send voice memos as well, or just text. Um, I didn't find it very hard, per se. Of course, there's moments that in a relationship you have, especially long distance, when it can get like you obviously miss the person. um, but then yeah, just communicating with each other and wanting to know what the other person needs, and also being vocal about what you need from the other person. That I would say to him like, okay, like this week I have a very busy week. Like it's not about you. Like it's not because I don't want to text you or I don't want to call. I just have a busy week and I need to. For example, we had one night. Um, like he had asked me spontaneously if I wanted to watch a film, and I was in the process of creating my character, like building her. Um, and I was like, I'm sorry, it's not about you. I just need to go and explore my character, do do my acting thingy. Um, can we set that for another night? Um, and yeah, it's you need to be understandable with the other person of like, okay, this is their job. I think it needs a lot of flexibility from the other person. And then you also have to then be flexible for it. Even if they are not like in the creative industry, they have their things as well, and moments where you need to be flexible too. Um, so understand that and come to like some ground rules. I think that's quite good to have like some ground rules of like, okay, these are the things that you expect from the other person and what is expected from you. Um, yeah, it all comes down to communication, I think. Um, and yeah, I'm very grateful that he was very understanding for me, and he was very supportive, and then we would have the moments of like, okay, today I'm not gonna do anything for the film. I'm just gonna have moments um, where I don't do anything related to it. And I think that's also important because you need that creative side also let them breathe for you to have other like insights of like, oh, okay, I had a little um vacation from having my like creative brain on. So now I have a lot of new ideas or new points of views. I would also like show him a lot and share to him of like this is what I'm doing. Have a read of the script. How does it sound to you? I would read with him the script to also make him feel like involved, kinda, and that he knows what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now I want to pivot into your role as a director. What was your initial impression of being the director based on what you have seen, what you have heard, and has it changed after finishing the film?
So, um, I didn't know how it was gonna be to be like direct and act at the same time. Because I had not like I had done it in a theater piece, but just in a monologue where I was just I was not directing anyone else. But I was very excited about that too, to get a new challenge. But I I didn't know I didn't know what to expect also in many ways. Um I knew what I wanted the atmosphere to be in the crew on set. I knew how I wanted the film to look like. I had a vision very clear. So I think those two were the points where I started from. Um, and then when it came down to like the shoot, I realized that I there needs to be like an assistant director from the very beginning, um, just to like give myself peace of mind as a director. And I think it's very important, even if you're not acting at the same time. I think having an assistant director there to have someone who knows also what you want, knows the vision you have very clear, and who can like be there to support you because you have other things going on so much so that you don't need to think about okay like what time someone needs to come on set or something like that. Um, and then as an actress to have also someone outside of the camera um, seeing how if it's being executed the way it was supposed to be. Um, and I still like I enjoyed it a lot and I learned so much. But I think I want to experience also directing separately from acting because I think it will be so different. Um, because I don't need to be already like getting especially on a short film where you don't have that much time. Like I would need to come like to myself, come to the present moment and be in the character, but then I also like thinking about like okay, like the how can I help my other actor as well? How can I direct him? Um, how can we execute all together this the way we want to, and so it's the best possible, but then also to be like zen and like um, present in the character. I don't know. It was very confusing at many points, but somehow um, it it's still like I think we had like loving the atmosphere on set. So I was very grateful for that. And there was like that feeling of like, okay, let's do this together, like that community feeling. I think we were all supporting each other in many ways, so that helped me as the director, and also in the acting part. But yeah, I definitely learned the biggest thing to have an assistant director from the beginning, and to also maybe set more time separate from, yeah, to have, I mean, that's always nice to have more time on set, I think, but it's not always possible. Um, but yeah, to have maybe 2 minutes more to maybe do some exercises with the other actor, or stuff like that, which we still did, even though we didn't have that much time.
Well,
But there could be more.
because it's you're a good actress. You know your stuff very well. That's why you don't need that much time. If it's another
Yeah.
actor, maybe not.
Yeah, well, yeah, like it came down very well. I'm very happy with it, but there could still be like, I think it can give more peace to, especially if there's more actors. Now we were just two, so I think it was okay to handle just two of us. But if there's more actors, there definitely would need more time.
And I'm curious, from an actress point of view, was there any part of acting for this film is particularly difficult, and how did you like overcome it?
Hmm. I think for me, the mixing the technical part with the act, like whether it's like continuity or um having the boomer there and not actually shouting or stuff like that. I think those are the things that I wanted to work on more, because also I have not done that much film yet. Um, I have my base on theater mostly, which is very different. Um, so I was very much focusing on how can I how can I how can I shift my skills to the other sets of skills that I have that are on film. Um, so I think those were the things that I was focusing on the most. I'm trying to think if there was like a scene which was the most difficult. Maybe maybe the last scene of the
On the last day,
film. Yeah, where we were at the
on the
on
streets, and
the
then there's a lot of
yes,
like people, a lot of cars, bus passing
yeah.
by.
I think those were the most difficult moments, but it wasn't that much from acting part. It was mostly just how do you handle the being staying present and delivering take after take, even if there's like cars going by and you need to pick it up again, and um or like people walking and not realizing that we're shooting, and those things. Um, and when you break character, to get back on it like quickly, and not lose the essence of what you want to tell from the story. Um, yeah, I think it was mostly like technical things
And how
that
did you
then
like overcome it?
um trying to find the present, focus on, okay, like what's a character, something very characteristic to Stella that I can connect with. Um, or just having just seeing the person in front of me and focusing on their words, focusing on their eyes. Uh, how does that person make me feel as Stella? And yeah, trying to block the outside and connect with that person, because for Stella the other person was very important for her. Then um yeah, I think that. So it always it's about presence. So much is about presence. Because then you can really handle everything at the same time, because you're so present that you're you cannot be distracted, even if there's a car going by or people walking. Okay, then you go to the next take, but you're already there, and it doesn't matter. You can still deliberate again and find new things. It's because it was a gift that that person walked past, because maybe it wasn't that good or something, and you can make it even better, or find new things. It's not always about being better or not. It can be also that there can be something like a surprise that you didn't have in that previous present moment that you found in this new present moment.
I see. And I'm curious, do you have a method to train this where you just block out everything else? It doesn't, like, the camera is not there, the boom is not there, the people walking past is not there, the car is not there, and just focus with like whoever you're talking with.
Yeah. I I usually I look at the person like very deep in their soul. I focus on the eyes, because the eyes tell so much about you. Um, and in film, especially, eyes are very important. So when you, even if you're just listening to the other person, or even if you're saying something, when you're, I just focus on that person's eyes, and at the same time, I'm feeling my clothes. I'm feeling the wind. I can hear the people walking. That it's everything like a dance of meditation all at the same time, kinda. Um, like you're meditating on everything in that present moment, because you're so present that you're aware of everything. um, yeah. I have not actually thought about that before, but I just realized that I do that.
Yeah, I kind of get what you meant by like look into their deep. So it's the same for me, where it's just like intuition. I can
Yeah.
I can look at a frame and I can tell you, okay, that's a bad frame, or this is a good frame. But I can't really, from the intuition, I can't tell you exactly why I thought it's bad or it's
Yeah.
good. It just is for me. But of course, we always
Yes.
can like go back and look at the frame to break down. Okay, the lighting here is not good enough. It's a bit too
Mm,
dark and things like that. But for the most part, for you and for me, it's like the intuition. Like,
yeah.
especially when you're shooting on the street, it's like trying to find a frame that looks nice,
Yes.
and then you can't really analyze it on the spot. There's no time. It's just
Mm,
that looks somewhat good. Okay, just figure it
it's a
out.
feeling. It's a feeling. Like it, I think that I think we also had so many moments that we would like look at something just a second and we're like, no, it
Yeah, so
doesn't
something
feel
feels off.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like something's off. Um, and then we would do it again, and like immediately when we cut it, it was like, okay, like I know it's good. I know it's good. Because it just felt so right.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Like for example, the shot at the park when we were running across the trees. I
Mhm.
just knew that was gonna be great because it felt so great.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And but that is also something that scares me a little because I know that there's a lot more that I didn't see. So it's it makes me need to see more, like more films,
Mm,
more poster, like not even about film, maybe about arts and other
yeah.
books, things to just have a lot of inspiration to pull from, not just from film.
Yes, yes, yes.
But then
Yeah.
the the funny part is that I don't have time. I I always have personal project. I'm doing like this podcast is already 58 minutes. It will be taking a long time to edit this. So it's always been especially in November and South December. Like I have what 3 shoots going on, and then we have like 5 school projects. I barely saw any YouTube, not even Netflix at all. And it's like yeah, it's very funny for me. Like I know what I need to do, but I don't really have the time. And yeah, of course, I'm trying to like you said, prioritize that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, like I have so much like the same feelings. Like in the summer, I watched maybe 2 films because I just didn't have the time to watch that many films. Because like a film is like almost 2 hours, um, or more. And yeah, you just you just need to prioritize. Like sometimes you're gonna have moments where you cannot, because you cannot do everything at the same time. Because that's also when you lose quality of things when you are doing so many things at the same time, which can be very exciting. Also, like if you have a lot of projects going on, also find the excitement on that, and to know that it's for a moment. It's not gonna last forever, and maybe at this point in your life you really needed that, and that's why it happened. But then maybe later in your life, maybe you have a point where again you have a lot of possible projects that could all happen at the same time. But then you just need to reflect, okay, like is this something that I really want, or is it something that I could do differently? Like maybe have 2 or 3 projects, or maybe just focus on one at this time. Um, Or maybe at some other point in your life, you're again having like millions of projects at the same time. um, but yeah, time time is a tricky thing. Just like it's an illusion at the same time, but then at the same time, it feels limited.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, I I myself like just try to feel what felt the best to do in that moment. Um, I left aside a lot of other creative interests because I really just wanted to focus on this. And now, like after I I'm past the part where I was doing like the pre-production that needed a lot and the shooting and stuff. Now I'm again picking up on other creative projects that I can now prioritize because I have the time. Um, but yeah.
And I just want to pivot into the post production. Like right now, we are in the editing, and then you're doing the sound design part. What's your experience? What do you like? What's the challenge? What you don't like about it?
Um, the editing was really interesting to see because like I've done some editing like on CapCut or like TikTok and stuff like that, but it's not the same at all. And so it was really cool to like be in the editing room and like seeing the editor do its magic. Um, and what I learned a lot was in the next projects to bring just a lot of options. Obviously, it's not always possible to bring a lot of options, but the more, maybe better said that the more options you have, the better it's going to be in the editing room, because then you can play so much with things. But yeah, it was really cool to like see it come together little by little. Like the rough cut was, well, a rough cut. So it was so funny. Like the editor like sent a message to me. He was like, "Yeah, you're probably not gonna like the rough cut. Like, don't worry, it's normal." And I was like, "Okay, yikes." I'm not gonna put any expectations then, because I don't want to be disappointed. So, but then when I saw it, I was like, oh, like it's not that bad. Like, yeah, I can see that it's a rough cut. I would never put this out. But there was already like an essence that I like, things that I really like, I liked, that just needed to be built on more, obviously. Um, so yeah, I think having options is something that was very like high on my mind after like the edit part, and now we're like in the finishing line of the editing. There's still some things on the edit part, but it's coming very nicely together, and I can see the evolution, but I can also feel that my mind is changing. Like I already have some notes to my editor that I'm gonna tell him after the holidays, like things that I want to actually change. Change my mind. Um, and like little details. I think it's so much about details also, to make it feel more whole. Because especially a short film, it's not, you, you don't have a lot of hours to bring that story to life. You have like, well, in this case, 20 minutes. So how do you make it like very impactful now in the editing room part? Like we've already done the shoot part and our part of that. How do we bring it all together in the edit? Um, and then we're also like composing now the music, uh, which is also like, it's so cool. And it's also very like, because it's interesting to see how the other person views the film and the inspiration he gets from it to create music, and then compare to what I had in mind, and how do we combine that? Because I don't want to like kill. Sorry, I'm gonna drink.
Yeah, of course.
Mm, I don't want to like kill all the ideas that the other person has. Like how can we combine it? And there's also a lot of interesting like things that I hadn't thought about. That I was like, wow, cool. Like how can we make that work? Like for example, there was a part of a voiceover that it's now maybe being turned out to song. It's not going to be a voiceover anymore. Um, so yeah, like little things. It's like okay, and yeah.
And what has been like the challenge so far, or for both
um,
editing and music?
with editing and music, uh, well, with music, it's we're in the very like quite beginning. He just sent me like the demos, so I have a lot of notes on that, and I'm gonna we're gonna talk about them after the holidays. I think it's all, how do you make it all kind of like a symphony. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all balanced with the edit, the music, or the sound in general, so that that's it's in a whole its own dance with the visual part and the sound part. I think that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, definitely can understand what you're saying here because right now I'm editing a short film that I've shot early November, and
Yeah.
then it is a mix between flashbacks and reality. So, right, and I'm doing the whole post production from editing, sound design to coloring. So right now we're in sound design part, and the director have two different versions for the reality music and then the flashback. So, and then she proposed things that doesn't quite fit the whole the whole scenes for the both flashback and reality. So so my advice to editors or sound designer out there, just take director's advice with a pinch of salt. You don't have to really listen line by line. Take what makes sense to you in order to make it better.
Yeah.
And then my advice for like to new directors, like don't get caught up too much with like the very minor details and have a lot of faith that the sound and color will make it better. Like for example, like the director I worked with early November, she's also a new director. It's the one that it's on set with us.
Yes.
And then so she had an initial idea. She told me about it, so I executed in a similar fashion. And then I sent over her the new version, and she's like she changed her mind. So I'm like, okay, what do you want to do now? And she gave me another idea. I do it, and then she's changed another idea. And then when I told her about the rough cut, it's like this is a rough cut. It's only with the dialogue. There's no sound, no music. And she's like, oh, I don't like about this scene. I'm not quite sure. But and then she's telling me that, oh, this isn't. It doesn't feel right. The color is a bit off. But I told her it's a rough cut.
Yeah, yeah, the
That's only
color's not
dialogue.
there.
I haven't even touched color. It's only the basic correction from the log profile we shoot to like a normal color for us to see.
Mm,
So that's my little rant, and then advice for new directors and sound editors out there.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. Like it's it's handling again like a lot of different aspects of the whole film and how do you make it like coherent all together and and also like you need to take into consideration the audience because it's for them um and what do you want to say with whether it's the color or the sound that you're creating like why is it there um but yeah I can imagine that's been like a lot to handle all those things and then to have it like change. I'm not gonna make my editor change a lot. It's like adding some slow motions and stuff like that. um, but yeah, I think it's still like it's so it's so fascinating how all those like different disciplines make it feel more like alive. Because I know I'm kind of already like seeing the final, trying to see the final product, even though if I'm not seeing the color or having the actual like sound of the dialogues and stuff like that, I'm trying to like tune on that filter in my head and trying to see that okay, like this is how it's gonna then look like. I really like the cut. Even if I don't see the color, it's gonna be there.
Yeah, I'll make sure that it looks great at the end. And then just to wrap up this conversation, this podcast, what's next for you? What's your next project? Anything exciting coming up?
Um, yeah, the other thing that that I talked about, the darker one, I already had in my mind that when I go to Uruguay in February, I'm gonna start writing on a play that I want to set on stage next year. And other things, I want to finish this film early on next year and send it to film festivals then and see what happens with that. I have my hopes. I have my hopes that it's gonna do well. um, and yeah, just keep creating things, meeting people. I met actually like I met so many people like these past months. Um, and yeah, making use of them. Seeing what can be created together. Keep working on my craft and yeah, make opportunities for myself, but also obviously also engage with that opportunities on the outer world. And yeah, I have a lot of exciting feelings towards next year.
Well, thank you for coming on this podcast. Thank you for your time.